Hello everyone, this is Brian with BS and Tech Networks. In this video, it is a continuation of the last video that showed you how to just do the basic operations in the new website editor, which just showed you how to access the outline view and some different options for navigating around. This video is going to build upon that, and we're actually going to get into some of the buildings of the blocks in the editor. So as you can see, we are already logged into the website. We are in the back-end panel. I'm going to click on Pages, and then I'm going to hit Home to get into the editor. As a reminder, if you have not watched the prior video, I would recommend that you do so. That way you are familiar with some of the buttons that I'm already clicking or how to navigate it. So now that we're in the page editor, you can see that there's really nothing on this screen to look at. We have the name of the page, which is home. That is not considered a block. That is just the name of the page. And then right underneath this, we have a paragraph block. So we're going to first discuss the paragraph block. When you click on a paragraph, you can easily modify and change the text, just like you would with any other word processor. So you can highlight the text. You could delete it by hitting the backspace or the delete key. You could click your cursor in here and you can start typing in some text. So test text being entered. Okay. All right. So there's that. I'm going to go ahead and undo that. So I'm going to hit the undo button up here. So when I hit undo, it will undo that and undo that other part that I did. Okay. So I'm going to click back in this again. We do have some other options. So this is for aligning the text. Right now, it is left aligned, or it's put on the left side of the container. We have align center. So if we click this, it then moves the text to the center position. Same thing with text right. It will move it to the right side, just like so. I'm going to go ahead and put this back to left aligned. And then we have some quick options here for bold, italics, and creating a link. So if I make something bold, if I just click the bold button, nothing happens. Why? Because you have not selected the text that you want to make bold. You don't necessarily have to make the entire paragraph bold, so you have to highlight the text. So click your mouse and then hold down and drag till the text is selected, and then you hit bold, and then it will then bold the text for you. So you can see now that it's bold. Say I want to make this part italics, so I'm going to highlight that text, and then I'm going to hit italics, and that will make it italics. The next thing to look at is the link. A lot of people have questions on how to make a link on their website. Well, this is the way to do it, especially if you are making a paragraph. So in this case, I'm going to highlight check back soon. I'm going to hit the link button. Now, there's only one page on this website, but if you were to start typing different page names, I'm going to type home, you'll see that the editor is smart enough to know, oh, there's a page that's named similarly to that. So if I click on home, it will then automatically insert the link to the home page. Now, if you want to go back and edit it, you just click on the text, hit the little pencil icon, and then you have the option again to change it. So you could put in any website address. So https www.bsandtech.com. So that's in there. I hit save, and now if I hover over and click, you can see that the link has been changed. All right, well, what happens if we just want to delete the link altogether? Now you see up here in black, it's got a different icon for the link, but you can unlink it. Now, as long as you just click in the section that's a link, hit unlink, and now the entire thing is not linked. So there's some more options over here. As we discussed in the prior video, you have two different things up here. You have page, which are the universal page options that will take for the whole page. And then you have the block. The block is what we are currently in. So if I click on the outline view, you see we're in this paragraph block. So we have some options. We can change the color of the text. So if I click on text, here are some predefined colors, Or if we click in this little cross-hatched color section, click in there, and we get a color picker. So we can move this bar down here, and you can see that the colors change. So you have a wide variety of different colors. So I'm going to make this color more like a blue. So then I change it to blue, and then I take my mouse, click, and now you see that it has chosen that color, and now the text is that color. Background. If you want to put a background behind your picture, or excuse me, not your picture, but your text, you can do that. Again, there's some predefined options. I'll make it this contrasting gray color, and now you can see that it has put a gray behind the text. Down here, you have more options. So when you're in the block settings, depending on the kind of block you have selected, the settings over here will be different. So if you have an image section or an image block, it will be different than the paragraph block, and so on. We will get into that as well momentarily. But on this one, in the paragraph, we have additional typography settings, which is the font settings. I'm going to click on these three dots, and then it's going to show me the other options that I can do. So not all the options are going to be shown, but that's how you can do it. Anytime you see three dots next to a main section like this, you can click on it to show it. Under size, these are predefined sizes. If you want more granularity with setting the size, click on this little button here, and then you can actually move this back and forth. You can see the size of the text. If you don't like that, click it again, and then you can just go back and set these predefined sizes. Next, we have appearance. You can change it to thin text. You can change it to regular text. Bold, so it's just another way to bold it. Otherwise, up here is the option for bold. And then extra bold, black. So there's some different appearance options. Letter spacing. This will add extra spacing between each letter. Let's put 5 pixels of space, and you can see that it adds the effect of adding space between the text. We have some other text decoration options. This one is no decoration. Clicking this will underline the text. Clicking this one will put a strike through the text. Or we can go back and hit none, and it removes it. Lettercase. You have all uppercase. Click on that. It converts it to all uppercase, all lowercase, or the regular mix of capital and lowercase there. Again, to remove it, hit the none button. Lastly, drop cap. So a drop cap is a feature that occurs for the first letter of each paragraph. Watch the N up here. You will see that it's going to get very large when I hit the drop cap on. There it is. So it's a little feature. A lot of newspapers typically still use that, where maybe the first letter of a paragraph or the main paragraph or the starting paragraph will be increased in size. So those are the different options for the paragraph block. We're going to move on and create another block now. So just like we showed in the prior video, to add a new block, you hit the plus button up here, and then we have a number of different options. So we're going to do just a few of these, but for the most part, a lot of the options are the same, but they do vary, like I said, between. So I'm going to add a button. So I'm just going to click on here. You can see there's a blue line that appears over here. That way it'll show you that it's going to be added underneath this paragraph. So hover over button, you see that blue line. I'm going to click once, click, and a button is added. So you can then change the text. This is my text for the button. Okay. Now, buttons are usually used so that it's an easy way to kind of an actionable item. So you can tell people, hey, this is a button, click on it. So one of the options right away, again, is add a link. You click on it, just like for the paragraph, you hit home. Oh, it did not work quite as expected. I'm going to back that up. Here is the undo. I'm going to click on the button again, change link, type in home. It automatically shows me the home page, and there it is. And then if I click back on the text, it has linked it. All right, so I'm going to remove the link. Again, it's got the black around the link, indicating that it's linkable. I'm going to click on it. There it is. Now in this case, if I do not want this linkable, I need to delete it. And there it goes. It is no longer showing that it's enabled. Same thing as the paragraph. You got your bold. Again, it doesn't do anything unless you specifically highlight the text. There it is. Now it's bold. Now it's italics. So same kind of thing for the paragraph here. However, look at the different options you have. A lot more than the paragraph. You have layout. So these are some different layout options. For the most part, these do not make any changes unless you change this inline flex. I would probably leave a button as the inline flex, leave it as is. Sizing. Sizing is one that is on a lot of different options. This is where you can specifically set the height, the width, what you want to set the minimum width to. So if I want to say I want it to be at least 300 pixels wide. So you saw that it made it just a little bit bigger. The other one is the the maximum width. So if I set this to 500, that is the maximum width that it can be. However, it did not make it the full 500. Minimum width, 300. Okay, now it made it a minimum of 300. But if I change it to be 500, there it goes. Now it makes it the same as the max. But if I set this to 6, it still ended up making it 6, even though you have the maximum width set as 5. So the minimum width will override the maximum if the maximum is less than the width. But it does not do it the opposite way around. So the minimum width of 300 does not override the max of 500. So those are different width and height variables there that you can play with. Spacing. One thing that I really advise you to do is use padding and spacing. Automatically, when you make a button, it adds 15 pixels of spacing above and below the text, and it adds 20 to the sides. If you remove these, it makes the text very, very narrow in the button. So whenever you're adding images or buttons or some of the other various features, I really like using padding to make sure that there is enough so-called white space and it doesn't just crowd the material that's contained within it. Margin. So margin is very much like padding, but if I type in 15 here, watch what happens over here in the page editor. 15, all it does is it basically moves it down. Margin is the area above, below, or to the left and right of the prior block. So it added margin here in the white space. So that will allow you to space out some of your blocks. And that's what these are called. This paragraph is a block. This button is a block. So we're going to go back in here. So let's say the margin is 150. We're going to see that jump down quite a bit. And there it goes. It jumped down quite a bit. Now, another thing that you might not know about is when it comes to paragraphs, you can center align the text with a paragraph. But it's not always the case, or it's not as easy with some of these other options. So what you can do is you can put in things like the word auto, and they usually will automatically center the information. But it's not so with this button. The auto does not work here by default. So what you can do is you can enter 150, and you can see that it then moves the button over. So just kind of like we discussed with the min width and the max width up here. Same thing, you can do that with the margin, with moving it over from side to side. Next, we have borders. If you want to add a border around the button, let's say I want to add a 5-pixel border around the button. So this shows that this would be the top border, the right side, the bottom, the left side. So 5 pixels. Now I need to tell it what color I want to use. I want to use black. And there's the border. You see the border being added? So that's a 5-pixel wide black border. You also have the ability to change styles. You could make it a dashed border. You could make it a dotted border. So those are some different options in here. So I'm going to make all of these 5. There's a link button. You see this? This is a quick and easy way to make these all the same. If I click the link button, it makes this easy and only shows one border at 5 pixels. Going to change this to solid black. Now I have a solid black border. Okay, moving on down to the typography. So we have different options here. We can left align the text, we can center align the text, we can right align the text. You can see that it's really not doing anything because the size of that button is pretty much already got it set. So there's no spacing on the left or the right side. Font weight. There's different font weights in here. Thin, normal, semi-bold, so you can change the different items there. Transform. This is very much like we did with the paragraph. Make it all uppercase, lowercase, capitalize it as appropriate. So you can see it, make it capitalized there. Or you have normal or default. Font size. Change the font size. Make this 30 pixels. You see that it greatly increases in size. That way you can really make that button stand out. Letter spacing, just like we covered in the paragraph. If you put in spacing here, it will add spacing. And it doesn't look very good there with that much letter spacing. But that's because this says EM. So usually you want to work with pixels, but there are some other options like percentages. There is variable height, variable width, and we'll get into those with the next video that's even going to expand on this and show you some more tricks. But I'm going to change this to pixels and really space that out. Colors, the background color of the button. I want to change the background color to be the gray to match the color up here. Click on that and it does it. Black. So you have the different background colors. Now you see that there is another color here for the hover effect. So on a website, when you have a button, typically when you hover your mouse over it, it will change colors. So that's what this hover color is. And then you can change the hover color. See how it changes? That's the hover color. Text color. You can change the text color here. Same thing. You have the initial text color. You have the hover text color. Next, backgrounds. So you can change the background. If I want to use a different color, I want to change the start color to blue and the end color to black. Look at the nice hover or the gradient effect now. It starts off with the blue on the one side and slowly fades to black. And then you can change this here. See how the direction changes when I hover and make that up? Yep, different effects there that you can do. Last thing on buttons, an icon. You see a lot of people that put icons on their buttons. So you have two different options. You have social icons that you can select, or you have general icons that you can select. So if I wanted to make this like a button to email me, right, I would use the email or the envelope icon. It puts the envelope icon over here to the left of the wording. Now let's say you want to remove the wording. It doesn't make any sense to do this, but it's here. You can remove the text and just make the button, you know, a button with a text icon. Okay, where do you want the icon to be? Do you want it to be on the left? Do you want it to be on the right? And again, you have padding in here too. So if I wanted to add padding, you know, on the other side of the envelope, you could do that. If I want to put the padding to be on the left side, you can do that. You can also change the icon size. Again, this set is EM. So if I change this, it's going to get really large, and then there you go. So you can make those different things stand out. A lot of different features here with the buttons, but that's another commonly used one as a button. All right, continuing on, we're going to do another one here. So we're going to do a headline. A headline is like your main thing that you'll want to add to the top of a set of paragraphs, maybe even on the top of your website. So if you can see again, the blue underline is going to indicate that it is going to add it under there. Click on the blue headline. It automatically adds some gray text that says that. This is my headline. Okay. And when you click on it, you have the similar kind of options that you would for a paragraph, except you have this H2. This indicates the header size. Heading 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. If I made it a heading 1, it makes it larger. Coming over here, you have a lot of the same features that you did with the buttons. but you have more features than you did with the paragraph. So I'm not going to go through these again, but generally you've got your sizing, you've got your spacing, borders, the typography, the colors, and an icon. So very similar to what you had with the buttons. So that's doing a headline. Say you put these in the wrong order. There's a quick little button here, up and down. When you click on these, it will move the items up and down. So I want to put my header above this paragraph. You can then move these down if you want. See how it moves it down. You can also do this in the outline editor. So again, this is the outline editor button. You can see little icons that represent the type of item it is. You have a headline, you have a paragraph, you have a button. You can click and drag these to be in different areas. And you see the blue? The blue will indicating where you're dragging it to. Sometimes you won't see the blue, and that's just because you've got it selected. So if I've got paragraph selected, I want to move it up here. You don't see the blue. It kind of blends in with the selected blue already, so nothing happens. Click up here, I move it. As I discussed in the prior video, you have these three dots over here next to each of your blocks. Again, each of these are called blocks. Click, you can duplicate easily. So if you want a button and you want to duplicate it, that's easily how you do it. And then you can come in here and change the text. I'm going to click and delete. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to hit update. Remember to always hit the blue update button or your changes will not be saved. Update. I'm going to go to the website now. So this is what it looked like before. Going to reload. Now we have headline, we have a paragraph section, and we have a button. Okay? All right. So that's some of the additional items that you can do. In the other video tutorial, I'm going to show you in more detail about how to do containers. There's some great things you can do with containers. But the last couple things I'm going to show you here is how to make a list and a grid. Okay? So a list is really simple. Again, you click on it, and it's going to make a bulletized list. And it has a gray word of list. So I'm going to say list item 1. I'm going to hit enter. List item 2. I'm going to hit enter. List item 3. Okay? So I've got some list items. You can see a lot of the same features. You have bold, italics, and the link button. Say you want to make this under the first list item. You have indent here. So indent will move it to be like a child of this parent per se. Okay, so that's a child bullet point to this parent bullet point. I can click on this and I can change this back to how it was. Now you see there's not a whole lot of options. You have the typography here that you can click on. You do have those appearance options again. You have the size. But that's pretty much about it when it comes to a list. Okay? All right. We're in the list right now, so I can hit the X up here, and then I get out of that. All right? So I'm outside of that. All right. Final thing that I'm going to show you how to do is to create a grid. A grid basically creates columns. So on regular computers, you will see them as columns. But on screens like tablets or cell phones, they are smaller. So if you purchase the mobile device compatibility feature with your website, that will automatically adjust the columns so they essentially will appear one on top of the other on smaller screen devices. But otherwise, they will appear next to each other. Okay? So I'm going to click on Grid, click, and it shows you some predefined options for the grid. Full width, 50-50, 30% each with 3, 25% with 4, and this option says a 25% width on the left side, 75% on the right. And so you have some different options here to choose what kind of grid you want to make. I'm going to click on the 4 option grid here, and now you have 4 boxes. You see that? There's 4 boxes for you to add. So click on this one. There's the plus. I'm going to do that. And I've not created an image yet, right? So I'm going to add an image. You can either hit Browse All and see the image, or I'm just going to type in image up here. And it's going to give me the option for image. I'm going to click on image, and I get the option to upload a picture, or I'll go to the media library to choose a picture. So I'm going to click media library. There's nothing in here yet. So I'm going to select a file. It opens this, and then I can click on some different images. So that's an image that we helped for another website owner, and I'm going to make sure it's selected. It's got the check mark next to it, and hit select. See that? It adds in the image. I'm going to go ahead and do the same over here. Plus, image, click, upload. That takes me right to the upload where I can choose another image. Okay? Same thing. Click on that. Oh, there's image right away. Upload. Choose. Let's choose that one. And there it is. Click. Plus. Image. Upload. And then, let's see. I haven't done that one. I'm going to choose that one. All right. So, you can see now I've added an image in each column. One thing to note with this, there's no spacing between the columns. Doesn't look terribly great. So I'm going to click on the outline editor, click on grid, then over here I have option for layout. There's an option for the gap. You have a 20 pixel gap, 40, 60, 80. So as you see, it will add more gap between each column to make it look more presentable. Vertical gap, you can see, really does nothing. And the reason for that is because we only have one row. If I were to make another row of these buttons, or excuse me, these images, it would add a vertical gap. Okay? So there's this. If I were to duplicate this, duplicate, duplicate, you can see now that we have two rows, and this is where that goes into effect. It makes more space between the rows. Okay? All right, so I'm going to delete those two rows that I created. So one of them was there, and I made, let's see, software I duplicated as well. All right, so I've done that. Let's say we want to add in something else under. You click on the container, right? So next to grid, you have a drop down or an arrow. That way it shows you the child objects under the grid. Okay? If I were to click and drag this up, it no longer is in the grid, and so it will not work as appropriate. So make sure you leave these as is. There is an indentation on this blue bar right here that indicates that it's going to be a child of the grid parent. So it's just kind of like a hierarchy, right? All right, so I've got the plus button. Hit the plus. I'm going to add a paragraph. This logo is for Alias Software. Okay? Same thing. I can click here, duplicate, click, drag this to be under there, right? And then you see that it's added under that one. Click, duplicate, drag, it's under there. Click, duplicate, drag, now it's under there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and update this and see what the website looks like. There we go. Okay, so we have a column, or yes, 4 columns here, 1 row with some logos and some text underneath. Well, that will finalize this video tutorial that explains how to use various block features, how to add, and how to configure them. If you've watched this video and you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to help however I can. And again, thank you for watching. This is Brian with BS and Tech Networks.